Episode 9, The Weight of Sacrifice. The silence inside the cave was suffocating, almost tangible. The moment the hollow man disappeared into the abyss, the oppressive darkness lifted, leaving an eerie stillness behind. Evelyn stood frozen, her hands still trembling as the last remnants of the spell faded from the air. The glowing runes flickered weakly, then dimmed completely, plunging the cave into shadow. She had done it. The hollow man was bound again, sealed beneath the earth, just as her father had written in his notes. But the victory was hollow. Evelyn knew that the cost of the binding ritual was far too high. She sank to her knees, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on her. The cave's cold, damp air clung to her skin as she tried to catch her breath. Her mind swirled with conflicting emotions, relief that the hollow man was contained, despair at the sacrifice that had been demanded, and fear for what came next. In the distance, the faint sound of footsteps echoed through the cave. Lucas had left, as she had asked him to, but now, alone in the deep, ancient cavern, Evelyn felt the true finality of her decision. She was bound to this place now, just as the hollow man had been. The price for keeping the curse at bay had been her own freedom. The world carried on outside the cave, unaware of the battle fought in the shadows. The forest, dense and brooding, had witnessed the rise of the hollow man and the ritual to send him back, but the trees whispered nothing. The wind, which had howled earlier with a supernatural fury, was still. For Ashcroft, the night might have seemed ordinary, just another quiet evening in a forgotten town. But not for Evelyn. She knew the truth. The curse might be contained, but it was not broken. The hollow man would return, just as he had before. Someone else would come, desperate for answers, drawn by the whispers and legends, and the cycle would begin again. As Evelyn leaned back against the cold stone wall, her eyes drifted toward the altar. The runes, once glowing with an otherworldly light, now lay dormant, etched into the stone-like scars on the earth itself. This place, this cursed cave, was a wound that could never fully heal. It was ancient, older than her family's connection to it, and it would outlast her as well. She wasn't sure how much time had passed when she heard the faintest sound from the cave entrance. Her body tensed instinctively, her senses still heightened from the encounter with the hollow man. For a fleeting moment, she feared that something had gone wrong, that the binding ritual hadn't worked. But the figure that emerged wasn't the hollow man, it was Lucas. He stood at the entrance, breathing heavily, his face flushed from running. His eyes searched the dark cave until they found her, huddled by the altar. Without a word, he rushed forward, his relief evident. "I couldn't leave you," Lucas said breathlessly as he knelt beside her. "I tried, but I couldn't. Evelyn, we need to get out of here." Evelyn shook her head slowly. "I can't leave, Lucas. You know that." Lucas's face twisted in confusion and anger. "What are you talking about? We did it. The hollow man is gone. The curse is broken." No, Evelyn's voice was soft but firm. "The curse isn't broken. It's just delayed. He's bound again, but only for a time. And there's a price for the binding. I have to stay here, in this place, to keep the seal intact." Lucas stared at her, disbelief etched on his face. That's insane, Evelyn. You can't stay here. There has to be another way." "There isn't," she replied, her tone resigned. "The ritual demands a sacrifice. If I leave, the seal weakens. And if the seal weakens, the hollow man will return." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The gravity of her words sank in, and Lucas's expression shifted from anger to something more akin to grief. He had always been the optimist, the one who believed they could find a way out of any situation. But this was different. "There has to be something we can do," Lucas said quietly, his voice cracking. "I can't just leave you here." Evelyn looked into his eyes, her own brimming with unshed tears. "You have to," she whispered. "I'm part of this now. My father knew the risks, and so did I. It's why he never left this place. He tried to protect me from it, but I'm the only one left who can keep the curse at bay." Lucas clenched his fists, his frustration palpable. No, Evelyn. I won't accept that. We'll find a way. There's always a way. But deep down, Evelyn knew there wasn't. The Hollow Man wasn't just a creature of darkness, he was a force of nature, an ancient power tied to the land itself. Binding him required more than just words, it required a connection to the place where he had been imprisoned. And that connection had now been passed to her. I need you to promise me something, Evelyn said softly, reaching for Lucas's hand. He looked at her, his expression pained but willing to listen. When you leave, don't come back. Don't try to find me. Don't let anyone else come looking for me. This place, it needs to be forgotten. Lucas shook his head, tears welling in his eyes. I can't promise that. You have to, Evelyn insisted. If anyone comes here. If the seal is disturbed, everything we've done will be for nothing. Lucas swallowed hard, his throat tight. He couldn't imagine a world without Evelyn in it, a world where she was trapped in this cursed cave, watching over a darkness that could never be fully contained. But he also knew that she was right. If the Hollow Man was ever unleashed again, it would be the end of everything. I promise, Lucas finally said, his voice barely a whisper. Evelyn nodded, her heart breaking even as she found a strange sense of peace in his words. She knew the future that awaited her was bleak, but it was one she had chosen. The burden of the curse was hers to bear, and in a way, she had always known it would come to this. As Lucas rose to leave, Evelyn watched him go, her heart heavy with the knowledge that this was the last time they would see each other. The cave was silent again, save for the faint rustle of the wind outside. The world beyond the cave would continue, but here, in the darkness, Evelyn would wait. And as the shadows crept in, she knew that she would never truly be alone. The Hollow Man was bound, but he was always watching, always waiting. For the next time, someone disturbed the seal. End of episode 9.